pleased and grateful to the readers who have stuck with me for all these years, and to the teams of people, both here and in the U.S. and Canada, the people who have been working an amazing number of hours putting it all together and trying to keep the lid on, because there were concerted efforts to try to steal the manuscript, which would have been used, I'm told, for fishing expeditions, in which download the testaments and you click on it, you do the fatal click on the link, and then you get malware in your computer, and all your information is in the hands of people who steal your identity. So that did not happen, so far as we know, but not for lack of trying. There were lots of phony emails sent trying to winkle even just 3 pages, even just anything out of people who had the manuscript, but they held firm.
3 more questions. This lady here in a black cardigan, it looks like. Yep. Is the microphone coming to you? There we go. And there's a lady in an orange cardigan.
That's exciting.
Everything okay?
Yeah.
There's a lady in an orange cardigan. And I don't want to miss anyone at the back. I can't see you. Is there someone? Yeah, someone up right there who I can't. There's someone with your hand raised. There we go. You're a blonde person, I think. So let's start with you.
Hi, I'm Alison Blood from The Guardian. I wanted to know when you actually started writing it, kind of in relation to where the TV series was, and also if you'll go back to it now you finish this one.
If I'll go back to it.
To Gilead.
Oh. Okay.
When I
started writing. So I know that I sent a 2-paragraph summary to my publishers on February 17th, 2017, saying what it was, who was going to be in it, and whatnot.
And how did they react?
Oh, I think probably they were terrified. Yes, it does sound like a mad idea, and usually I never tell them what I'm doing, because they always sound like mad ideas. So you, with books, I think you kind of have to read them. But nonetheless, they wanted to know. So that's what we did. So I must have been far enough along with it by then so that I could tell them what I was doing. I look at the note, I look at my holograph writing, and I try to place exactly when I did it, but it's always hard to remember those things. So it goes back into probably thinking about it 2:15, starting to build it out 2:16, writing the summary February 2:17, the series launches in April 2:17, by which time I'd already whacked Elizabeth Moss over the head in September of 2:16. Election happens November 2:16, and at which point everybody in the cast and team woke up and said, we're in a different show. Not that anything in the show changed, the frame changed. It would be viewed differently, which it was. So that is the progress of events. I wrote part of it. I wrote part of it in a dome car going across Canada. Dome car.
A train.
A train. Yes, a train. We had won it as a door prize, a fundraiser. It was a bit dicey because we were the attractions at the fundraiser and we won the door prize.
Wasn't a setup, right?
It was not a setup, but it looked fishy. Nonetheless, grandma's train, so we were definitely going to take that train. But it was a great place to write because nobody phoned. They couldn't.
And then do you think you'll ever go?
Do I think I never say never to anything, because I have said never and been wrong. And I've also said I'm writing this and then I didn't. So I think it's best not to tell anybody what you may or may not do, because if you do something else, there's just going to be endless questions about why you didn't do what you said you were going to do. politicians experience this all the time, but writers can avoid it by just not saying. I'm not telling you my platform.
And you in the black cardigan.
Hello, Elisabeth Dublin for the French weekly newspaper Parisien Weekend. I was wondering, offspread rights and Nvidia and the idea that the journals will make it through time and be heard. Do you think that writing is a kind of act of faith or a way to encourage or foster hope?
Writing is always an act of hope because it assumes a reader. It assumes a reader in the future, because the act of writing and the person reading it are always separated by time and we assume space, unless the other person was on the surveillance camera looking over your shoulder. So I think it's always an act of hope no matter what the content. And you've probably heard about the Future Library of Norway, futurelibrary.no, which is a writing project that is lasting for 100 years. And for every year of that 100 years, a forest will grow a little higher in Norway, and a different writer will submit a secret manuscript, 2 copies only. And in the 100th year, the boxes will all be opened and enough trees will be cut to make the paper to print the Future Library of Norway. That's a very hopeful project. There will be people in 100 years, there will be a Norway, there will be a library in Norway, the manuscripts will have survived, people will still be able to read, people will still be interested in reading, and there's a great big bundle of hope right there. But it is the reason why Jimmy in Oryx and Crake does not keep a journal. He cannot imagine a future reader, whereas Aunt Lydia does, because she can't. She has hope that she will have a future reader. She does not have knowledge that she will have a future reader.
And the third microphone. I can't quite see the person.
I'll stand up so you can see me.
Very good.
Hi, Sonia Elks at the Thompson Reuters Foundation. You said that you felt that the United States was moving closer to the Gilead that you imagined. What has that been like for you, and do you have any hope or expectation that the Testaments can have a relationship with reality in terms of offering a warning or a conversation?
Well, it's if you look at the legislative moves made by a number of different states within the United States, you can see that some of them are almost there. But what these restrictive laws about women's bodies are claiming is that the state owns your body. There is a parallel occasion for men, and that would be the draft. So the draft or conscription, in which the state says this body is going to go into the war, but when they do that, they pay for your clothing, lodging, food, medical expenses, and they give you a salary. So I say unto them, if you want to conscript women's bodies in this way, you should pay for it. As it is, you're forcing women to deliver babies. It's enforced childbirth, and you're not paying for any of it. I think that's very cheap.
Among other things.
Among other things. Cheap labor, and that's a pun.
But do you see the sort of second part of the question, the Testaments having a kind of relationship?
I think it enters into a conversation that's already taking place, because the Handmaid's Tale has been a meme in these kinds of conversations for years. It was in the 2008 election, it was in the 2012 election, and it certainly was in the 2016 election. But for a society that claims to value individual freedom, I would say to them, evidently you don't think this individual freedom extends to women.
3 more. Raise your
In the
hands.
front row.
Front row right here. Thank you.
Oh, I said in the front row.
Oh, sorry. Green cardigan then.
Yeah.
And second row. Green, exactly.
Where did you get that?
Green
They're so hard to get green.
Hang on,
This
I just
fall.
want to pick the 3. And then this lady here. And at the back, at the edge, sort of in the middle, there's a blue shirt, a woman in a blue shirt. Keep your hand up. Here comes the mic. So yes, in green, you have to start.
Yes, I think specifically in the right outfit.
We can see that.
Notice. I'll tell you the secret afterwards.
All right, thank you.
No, I just wanted to ask about.
What's
sorry
your
about the
name and where you come from?
Deborah Bonetti, Il Giorno, an Italian daily newspaper. I was wondering, the Testaments has been described as more accessible in terms of writing than the original Handmaid's Tale. I've read just the extracts that have come out, and I think it's more accessible. And I just wonder whether you agree, and whether the accessible look of the new manuscript, of the new book, is a way of it is informed by the fact that you know that there is a much bigger readership coming towards it because of the TV series. Whether you thought of that at all, and whether you wanted to reach out more.
No. Yes, no, I think that the Handmaid's Tale is a single narrator book, and it was also and everything has to be laid out in it through a narrator who doesn't know very much. Hence we have a symposium 200 plus years later in which the people giving the symposium know a lot more than the narrator of the book. She can't know because she's not allowed access to documents and reading materials, and she also can't know because of her position in the society, which is very constrained. So a single narrator who isn't allowed to do much is going to be very inner monologue and very meditative and very tense, which is what it is. This one has 3 narrators, and one of them knows a lot. Like, she really knows a lot. She knows a J. Edgar Hoover lot, and she also knows a Thomas Cromwell under Henry VIII lot, and they all did the same things. They collected dirt on people, which they then used in manipulative ways, as one does in those positions. So we have a narrator who just knows a lot more. And we have another narrator who also knows quite a lot because she took it at school and did a paper on it, as so frequently happens. So I don't think that I was intending to have it be, quotes, more accessible. I always try to write in a way that's clear. I mean, I try not to do really confusing things. I've never written a book in which the goal is to write a book minus the letter A. It has been done. So I wasn't intentionally being, quotes, more accessible for any of the reasons that you mentioned. The choices had entirely to do with the realities of the world and the realities of the characters. And I do tend to write short chapters, but I've always written short chapters, and that has to do with the fact that I do not have a court-lined room like Proust, and I don't have people bringing me my breakfast on a tray every day like characters in Henry James's fiction. So I get interrupted a lot. How can I put this? Lots to say and do every day. And therefore my writing time gets shoved either into the early morning or into the night these days.
Barbara Schwinde from the German Public Radio. I read both of it, so don't worry, I didn't steal your copy, but I got a German press copy already. And and I think the Testaments compared to The Handmaid's Tale is much more optimistic. And so I was wondering, I think there's no reason to be more optimistic nowadays. So why did the tone in a way change, or why is it, more positive?
The Handmaid's Tale is optimistic. Why is that? Because it ends, because I didn't kill off the central character, number one. I think it's pretty.
That counts.
Yeah, I think it counts. And also we have the symposium at the end, which makes it clear that Gilead did not last. So there's lots of reasons not to be optimistic, but about these kinds of regimes, there are frequently reasons to be optimistic because, in fact, they tend not to last. They have a tendency not to last. And it is the same with this one. We have another symposium in which our professor spends quite a lot of time talking about whether they are authentic manuscripts or not, and how come we didn't find them before, and all of those things that academics talk about. But it is still clear that Gilead is over, and it crumbled partly from within. So such regimes fall apart when, number one, they can't fulfill their promises, and things just go pear-shaped. Number two, people interpurge each other within the regime, and that has happened a lot over history. Number three, attack from without, and number four, generational succession. So life is very different for a third generation within such a structure than it is for a founding first generation. So the first generation has had to do all the bloodbattery. We did this for you. Why aren't you grateful? But the second generation is growing up under much more, I won't call them stable, but much more understood terms. They're not necessarily more fun. I was a visitor
They're established.
but they're established. I was a visitor to East Germany in 1984, and to Czechoslovakia and to Poland, and they were all still behind the Iron Curtain. Things were quite different in each one, but I would say East Germany was the most locked down. But it was the place where the wall crumbled and people came streaming through. So you don't always know. Certainly in 1984, nobody had any idea that this was going to happen except for Ryszard Kapuscinski.
And the last microphone here.
Hello, Abigail Chandler, Sci-Fi Now. I was wondering, in the sort of 34 years since you wrote the original, in that gap of time between, were there any, how often did you think about The Handmaid's Tale, think about returning to it, and were there any particular characters or story possibilities that niggled at the back of your mind trying to get your attention?
Okay, I didn't. Of course, I thought about it from time to time because it always came up in Q's and A's. So the timeline went like this. It gets published in 85-6. The reactions in the three English-speaking markets were quite different. England had jolly good yarn because they'd done their religious civil war back under Oliver Cromwell, and they hadn't liked it very much either. So I just was to a battle reenactment. You know this organization called the Sealed Knot? The Sealed Knot did the Battle of Ledbury in July, at which I was present. Quite a slowly unfolding battle. I kept saying, when are the Cavaliers going to show up? Oh, they're over there behind that hedge. They did it on the football field, which is not where it was actually done, but they didn't want to break any shop windows. So they said jolly good yarn. Canada said, as they nervously always say, could it happen here? Canadian worries tend to be expressed as questions. And the United States split. Part of them said, don't be silly, this will never happen here. We are the world's foremost liberal democracy, all of that is behind us, etc., said they. And the other half said, how long have we got? And on the seawall in Venice, California, somebody spray painted a great big Gilead is already here. No, The Handmaid's Tale is already here. So the West Coast was more anxious about it than Mary McCarthy was. So that was the reaction then. Next thing that happens, the wall goes down, and in the 90s everybody went shopping. The end of history, game over, no more bad things. Globalization will solve everything, said they. And then they said, here comes the internet, hooray, hooray. Won't it be wonderful when we can all share our positive, happy thoughts? Wrong.
And here we are.
And here we are. Yeah, so the rule about human technologies is pretty unaltering. They all have a good side, a bad side, and a stupid side that nobody anticipated. And so it has been with the internet. So what was the question? Was I thinking about it? I was thinking about it in the 90s, but thinking we're moving away from it. Next thing that happens is 9/11, and that changes the chessboard. Everything, that's when we started having to go through security at airports. You may not remember this if you're young, but once upon a time there was no security. You just ran onto the plane. No problem. What's your problem? So that's when all of that happened, and we became much more, I would say, fearful, inward-looking. I'm going on too long.
You're gonna
She's
have to
making
stop
signs
soon.
to me.
I am.
She's frowning.
Just so you know.
Yeah, so like that. And then I started thinking about it again. And then I started thinking about it more after 2008, when, as you'll recall, we had the world financial meltdown. And things always got squirrely around those times. And then I started thinking about it even more in the run-up to the 2016 election, because I was brought up under Marshall McLuhan, and I know the power of certain kinds of media.
And here we
Donald
are.
Trump has a very persuasive television
He is
presence.
very
He
persuasive.
should be selling, you know, Buckley's cough mixture or something. He'd clean up.
Would that would sell. Well, we are going to have to draw to a close. That's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for coming to hear Margaret Atwood speak publicly for the first time anywhere in the world about a book some have been waiting, all have been waiting 34 years for.
No, they haven't.
Worldwide today by Vintage, and you can collect a copy as well as your press back on your way out downstairs. Margaret will now be heading to the lobby directly outside the auditorium for a 10-minute protocol. Thank you so much. I will. Okay. Thank you. Yes? Yes, I will send it to you. So now I'm going to get my pen. I will see you I promise.
I'll watch.
I will see
Go,
you
come with
me.
Come with you. Here's my program.
That's hi.